order. Roll call, please.
Mayor White,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez,
Here.
Councilmember Ortiz, Councilmember Jones,
Here.
Councilmember Garcia.
Here.
Excuse council member absences. This agenda item allows the city council to excuse the absence of council member who is not present at the meeting. Any public comments on this particular item? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion. I think she did.
She's on her way to League of California Cities Conference. It starts tomorrow.
Second, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Invitation by pastors. Valenzuela.
Prayer. Father, we just want to give you the praise and glory, Father God, as we come to lift up the council meeting here, Father God. We lift up the members, Father God, these council members, Father God, that follow decisions, Father God, from the city of the Greenfield, Father God. They just bring, Father God, the wisdom, the knowledge, Father God, and direction, Father God, for what you need to do in Greenfield, Father. So lift up the city council, Father, the city police, Father God, the chief, Father God, and Father, the firefighters, and the chief also, Father God. Just want to give the praise and the glory in Jesus' name. Amen.
Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Ready? Salute. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll move to agenda review.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pull item J4, the update from the Public Works Department.
Okay.
We will reschedule that for the next meeting.
Okay. That's good. All right. Public comments from the audience regarding items that are not on the agenda. This portion of the agenda allows an individual the opportunity to address the council on any items on a closed session, consent calendar, public hearings, and city council business. Under state regulations, no action can be taken on non-agenda items, including items issued under this agenda item. Members of the public should be aware of this when addressing the council regarding items not specifically referenced on this agenda. Do we have any public comments?
Buenas noches. Nosotros vinimos la junta anterior. Yo y
Good night, everybody. We did came here last last meeting. It was myself and
the lady in the back. Y I'm speaking English. Y muchas personas vinieron también.
and many other people came as well.
Pero este día no vinieron porque están enfermos y no tienen raite.
Today they didn't come because they're sick. They don't have transportation.
Pero yo soy la que los represento.
But I am the one that's representing them.
Y la vez pasada yo vine a suplicarles que por favor no quiten el servicio de ANCO.
Last time I just came here to beg you guys not to take that, to do a favor, not to take that service, the AMLO program,
De ANCO.
AMLO program.
Porque el RIGHTS no es lo mismo,
Because rights, it's not the same.
es not the same. Porque el RIGHTS es para las citas de doctores lejos y ellos sí nos traen al hogar, pero en veces no vienen a tiempo y levantan a muchas personas por esa razón.
And the thing is that rights is mostly for doctor's appointments. They bring us home, but they do bring a lot of people. And then sometimes it takes a while to bring us home.
So, de ANCO es lo mejor para nosotros,
So AMCO is the best for us.
porque nos levantan en el hogar y nos llevan a donde vamos a ir aquí en Greenfield Y es un servicio magnífico.
Because they pick us up, they take us where they need to go here in Greenfield. It's a magnificent service.
Ya fui a una junta a Monterrey y la otra vez vinimos y la primera vez que vinimos aquí, yo quería hablar con Mr. White, a ver si él entendió todo lo que yo dije en español.
And last time we did have a meeting out there in Monterey, but it's my first time coming here. That's why I was wondering, Mr. White, is he gonna understand everything that I had to say last time, but it was in Spanish?
I
So,
understood what you were talking about.
Yo sí entendí, sí me di cuenta de lo que
okay,
estaba.
gracias. So please, Mr. White, do something for us, Nosotros votamos por ustedes, ustedes son la voz de la comunidad.
We voted for you guys. You guys are the voice of our community.
Y no nomás yo lo uso, ni mi vecina lo usa, ni todos los que no vinieron.
It's not only me that use it, or my neighbor that uses it, or not just the people that didn't come.
Los usan toda la comunidad, los de la high school, las mamases que van a levantar a sus niñitos del kindergarten, del first grade, todas las personas lo usan.
The community uses it, the high school students, the mothers that are gonna go pick up their children to first school, the whole community uses it.
So please, Mr. White, if you can do something for us, please do it. We don't want rice to come here and pick us up. We want ANCO. Thank you so much. Ay, ya ven.
Excuse me.
Perdón, un segundo.
Could you do us a favor? Could you leave your name and contact information with our clerk, please?
Okay.
So somebody can reach out to you. Thank you.
I got it.
Anyone else?
Sí, aquí está.
¿Alguien más?
Sí, esa. Y el de mi casa también. Sí.
Thank you very much.
¿Tú quién eres?
Let's move on to comments from City Council. Councilwoman Jones.
So we went to Cal Cities. There was a lot of information that we had, but very good information. We learned a lot, so thank you for sending us. Just as an FYI, the school district will be having a suicide prevention for parents and caregivers on February 4th for English, and in Spanish, February 6th, 6 to 7, both sessions. That's it.
All right, thank you.
Yes, I also attended the Cal Cities Mayor Council Academy, and the most important thing I learned is don't go to jail. Don't do anything that will get you arrested. The second thing is most questions have the same answer. It depends. And that means take into consideration just other thoughts. And my time's up? No?
You're still good.
That's a smart thing to do, though. And the third thing was that the internet is not necessarily helpful or our friend. And we should be careful on what we post, what we like, and which council members I talk to. I'm just saying. But as far as our community, I really want to give a shout out and a thank you to, I think it's Neighborhood Pet Project. I got to see Dorothy Jones, a volunteer, who was capturing, I saw her capture 9 cats in one place and 2 more in another place. And they catch and release. And I was just impressed on how well she's doing it on her, in the evenings and weekends when she's not working. She volunteers to do this. And at first I had heard about this project, but I had no idea the impact it's making in our community of reaching out and trying to help the feral cats population. And I saw firsthand what one house could look like with 9 feral cats in their yard. So I'm glad we were able to reach out and help one of our community members, and very grateful for Dorothy Jones, and I think Maria Villagomez is the one that runs that program. So thank you very much.
All right. Mayor Pro Tem.
I would say advice on the social media, don't like anything. That's your safest bet, is just do not like anything at all. The MST on-call service, I do want to make this announcement, and I'll give it a go in Spanish in a second for the speaker, because we have been getting these concerns about the on-call service ending. So one of the main things that I've been trying to clarify when I speak with residents is that the vote on changing the on-call service to the circulars is a vote that happened probably, I think, like 2 years ago. So unfortunately, that was before I came on board. All of those decisions were voted on at the MST board. I think there was many presentations into the city. Unfortunately, right now, the point in time that the whole process is in, that's so far in motion that there isn't stopping the circulars at this point. But because of the residents showing up to the MST board meeting, I believe it was in December, that made a big impact on our board. And they understand the need and the impact that, the negative impact that it's gonna have on our residents to stop that service. So there are talks about what kind of supplemental service there could be, or limited ride services to, or on-call, sorry, limited on-call service to South County cities, because it is a unique issue to South County. So I hope to have more information on that to share soon. But I just want to share that because I think it happens with everything that we do. Like, things take so long, especially with this, and I had to learn that anything in the city takes a very long time to do. And so the things that you're seeing enacted now were put in motion years ago. And but that doesn't mean that we can't try to find a solution now. Señora, específicamente quería contestar sus preguntas de usted, pero dejó su información y puedo hablarle para hacer una junta con usted y con las otras personas que fueron a la junta en Monterrey. Lo que estaba explicando nomás es que las decisiones que se hicieron para parar esos servicios de on-call, on-call, se hicieron hace años. Y desafortunadamente, pues esas decisiones ya se tomaron hace mucho tiempo y han hecho mucho trabajo para poner esos nuevos circulars que le están diciendo del VAS. Pero eso no quiere decir que no podemos tratar de hacer algo para ayudarles a todas las personas que van a ser impactados en un modo negativo. Pero yo hablo con usted y puedo compartir con usted más información sobre lo que la mesa directiva está platicando para tener diferentes servicios cuando pare ese servicio, o quizás seguir ese servicio, pero un poco diferente. Pero nomás que sepa que sí los oímos y sí estamos tratando de hallar alguna solución.
Pero queremos a alguien que nos levante.
Sí, sí, he entendido.
En la casa, y que nos lleve y que nos traiga. No queremos iguales.
Sí, es muy entendido, pero yo le hablo para que podamos platicar más sobre todo eso.
Y luego seguir viviendo.
Siga viniendo. Okay, next I wanted to address that there's a big sense of fear in our community. I think we can't really ignore that because we have a very large immigrant community. And I asked Chief Mixer, because I have gotten a few inquiries about ICE activity in town, and I wanted to address it, and I asked him if I could share his response, so I'm going to, with his permission. So, I should have pulled it up first. So the response, in essence, is that there were questions regarding, from residents, that there were ICE raids were occurring in Greenfield, but that is not true. No raids have occurred. There were 2 Department of Homeland Security vehicles getting gas at the Chevron station here in town, but they were passing through, and our local officers stopped to talk to them and verify that information. So I know there are a lot of reasons for many people to be fearful, but I just want to make sure that we also do our part to dispel any disinformation so that we're not adding unnecessarily to fear, because there are lots of reasons that people do have. So I just wanted to share that information. And I would encourage everybody to know their rights, to make sure that you know what you can and can't do. And if you aren't sure, please seek out us, your local representatives. There are a lot of community agencies that would help. I would be happy to connect anybody that reaches out to me with services and resources that I know of. And another thing sort of on that is on the education side of things. Many of you probably heard that there's a freeze on federal assistance programs and things of that nature, and we have been flooded with calls from students because federal financial aid, Pell Grants, things like that. So what I wanted to share is information also that I got about that, so that we could help our students not be stressed and scared. So one of the points that was shared with us was that the U.S. Department of Education, federal financial aid, and Pell Grants are unaffected at this time. And that was according to the source that gave the chancellor's office this information. That information is 3 hours old. And so I do want to say, you know, also don't hold me to that, because that's the information we were given. I know things could change, but as of right now, I would just want our students to know that as of this moment, their financial aid should not be affected. It does include halting the issuance of any new grants. So if you're a new student that hasn't received a grant, then I would highly encourage you to reach out to your financial aid office of the school that you attend. As I receive more information, I will share that out as well. And that's all I have.
Okay. In regards to the ICE item that you talked about, wanted to let everyone know that the Know Your Rights cards are available. The red cards are available in the city office. We have supply of those. All right. I know Fabiola Lopez is going to be giving us a presentation on our community engagement department a little later, but I did want to point out several activities that are happening next month for our seniors. Senior fitness is on Mondays, excuse me, at 4 o'clock. Yoga classes are available on Wednesdays at 10:30, and nutrition and cooking classes are available every Friday at 1:30. There are also art workshops sprinkled throughout the month. All these are happening at 1351 Oak at our community center at Patriot Park. In addition, senior social is starting up again on Wednesday, February the 12th. Lunch, music, and lots of fun. 11 to 1 with the Greenfield Memorial Hall. Make your reservations ahead of time. So seniors, get out and get involved. Lots of things to do. Get out and be social. Junior Giants AmeriCorps ambassadors are taking applications until February 3rd. This is an opportunity to represent your community and get paid a monthly stipend. Those applications are available also at the community center. I wanted everyone to know I met with Community Development Director Paul Mugen, Realtor Michael Bassetti, and the owners of Miramonte. For those of you that don't know what Miramonte is, it's a 30-acre subdivision. We have approved, it's on Oak and 13th Street. We were talking with an interested party to see what we could do to make the project more attractive for the development. So we had that meeting a couple weeks ago. Finally, I'm happy that we now have the date set for our city council team building workshop that I requested. It's March 19th. I'm looking forward to working with our new council to do great things for Greenfield. By working and planning things together, I think we can really get positive things done to our community. That's what I have. Thank you very much. We'll now move to consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered routine and may be approved by one action of the city council unless a request for removal for discussion or explanation is received prior to the time council votes on the motion to adopt. I will open the consent calendar up for public comments. Do you have any public comments on consent calendar? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council. Motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve. Need a second.
I second.
Moved in second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. Thank you. We will now move to mayor's presentations, proclamations, communications, and resolutions. J1, presentation, Urban County Community Development Block Grant Funding by Don Mitsu, County of Monterey. Welcome.
Good evening. I'm not Don, I'm Darby Marshall. I'm the county's housing program manager, and I will be doing the presentation. I'd like to just add to what Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez was saying. The executive order that was issued, the further guidance that we got is programs that provide direct benefit to citizens, most notably for the department that we interact with, which is the Housing and Urban Development Department. It means that Section 8 vouchers will not be interrupted for right now. So if you have constituents that keep their housing through that program, they can rest a little easier. I'm here tonight to talk to you about the Urban County Community Development Block Grant Program. I'm going to real quickly explain what the Urban County is, the process that we go through to get funds and allocate funds. And then at the end, I'd like to kind of get your feedback on what you think the city's needs for these funds might be, how they might be used here. And I apologize if I go fast, if I gloss over something. I've been doing this for a few years, and so I have a lot more knowledge in my head than and if you have questions, feel free to interrupt me, because I want to be responsive to and help you guys learn about this program. All right, so real quick, CDBG, this is a federal program through the Federal Department of Housing and Urban Development. There's really two programs to it. There's what's called the States Program and the Entitlement Program. The Urban County falls under the Entitlement Program, and what that means is jurisdictions that meet a couple of tests, which is 100,000 population and 50,001 of those being what HUD considers low mod. So households or individuals earning up to 80% of area median income. Now I have that later in the presentation, that number, so give you a little reference. Congress gives HUD money for community development. Roughly 75% of it goes to the entitlement. The balance goes to the state's program. As an entitlement, it's exactly what it sounds like. We get a guaranteed grant every year to spend for CDBG eligible activities. Small communities like Greenfield could opt out and compete through the state's program, and you could conceivably get a lot more through that program. But it's competitive, and you may or may not get it. And I haven't seen a CDBG award in this county in probably 10 years. There were some people who were a little more competitive, but it just seems like the Central Valley and the Imperial Valley have gotten a lot worse. And so there's a lot more need out in those areas. But that's something to keep in mind in a few years. Our process, last year, the council approved a joint powers agreement with the county. We also have Gonzales, Greenfield, Sand City, and Marina participating in the Urban County. Every 3 years, the county is required to invite all 12 cities in the county to become a part of this consortium. Every 3 years, you opt in or you opt out. Once you're in, you have to stay in for those 3 years, and you're not allowed to go after the state funds, okay? Every 5 years, and I don't understand why HUD did this, but they did, we have to prepare a consolidated plan, and that is a high-level look at what the community development and public service needs in the community are. And then we kind of categorize them and decide where we're going to focus our efforts. Every year, we prepare an action plan or an annual plan that actually identifies specific programs and services that we're going to fund that year. In December, we issued a notice of funding availability, and that is primarily for us to solicit applications for the public services component of the funds. And then in September of the following year, we report out on the use of those funds and the beneficiaries. And if you would like, we can come down and do that presentation for you sometime. We haven't, but we could if you were so inclined. So, too far. So some of the basics of CDBG. CDBG, you have to meet at least one of 3 national objectives: benefiting low or moderate income persons or households, preventing or eliminating slums or blight, or meeting urgent needs. Generally, we are not going to fund an urgent need activity out of our annual allocation. Urgent needs means it's something that came up all of a sudden that is an extraordinary expense for the community. And in those cases, Congress gives HUD extra money and it's issued as what's called a CDBG disaster response allocation. There is currently one that the state is working on for the March 2023 flood event. I don't know if you had eligible projects that, or damage that is still unmitigated, but Paul and Paul can certainly let me know, and we can hook you up through that. That is separate and apart from the stuff I'm talking about tonight. We can do slums and blight. So if you had an abandoned lot that, say, had been a gas station and needed remediation, and you needed a piece of funding to help with that, CDBG can come in and do it. But we do want to see what your plan for reusing that property is within probably the next 5 years. So it's not to go clean something up and turn it into a land bank. We're still going to be looking, how is this going to help the community? How's it going to help that low mod population? How can you meet the low mod benefit? Well, there's area benefits. So here in Greenfield, you're predominantly a low mod population, according to HUD. So if we did something like streetscapes or street improvements, that's easy. Just write the check. If you wanted to do something for seniors or removing architectural barriers, you got a nice new city hall here, so I don't think ADA accessibility here is going to be an issue, but that's something that we could do. We can also do housing rehabilitation, down payment assistance, things like that, and I'll give you a few examples of that. And last, if you want to do economic development, we have to do it on the basis of jobs being filled by low, moderate income incumbents. So it does get a little invasive because we do have to start verifying their income. There's only one activity that we have to fund, and that is fair housing and tenant-landlord mediation. If you have any residents who are having troubles with their landlords and are concerned that maybe it's a fair housing issue, if you want to write this number down, it's 1-800-ASK-ECHO. It's a free service. The county pays for it, but it's available to all of your constituents. And they will do what they can to help work with your residents to resolve any issues with their landlords. Okay. That limited clientele, there's a very specific list of individuals that can be helped. This is it. Again, we do most of these the limited clientele is through our public services component. And I'll cover that in just a second. But again, if you had something that you wanted to focus on, helping one of these particular populations, we can always work with you on that as well. So this is the part that everybody really wants to know. How much is out there? A couple of years ago, I went to HUD and I asked them what each city in the county might be worth if they were eligible to be entitlement. And so you can see Greenfield would get a grant of about $250,000 a year, round numbers. And from that, what I had to do is, once I knew who was going to participate, I kind of portioned things out. The first thing we do is, under law, we can use up to 15% of the grant for public services, okay? up to 20% for general admin, which leaves 65% for affordable housing, infrastructure, community, and public facilities, and affordable housing. I tried to keep all of the cities' funding roughly proportional to what they put into that original 1-year or 3-year pot, but I had to make some adjustments, shifting things around because Sand City wanted to play ball, but they only get like $5,000 a year. So it wasn't really worth anybody's time, so I kind of caged stuff around a little bit. Excuse me. So over the next 3 years, Greenfield's going to get about $548,000 to program how it would like to use for community development, except for public services, and I'll explain that in a second. So what have we funded locally? Well, back in 2016, we did the ADA improvements out at Patriot Park. A couple of years ago, we went in with the city council and the Greenfield Fire Protection District to buy a new fire truck or fire engine. We fund the Boys and Girls Clubs to provide youth leadership development here in Greenfield. Meals on Wheels Salinas Valley to come down here and try to continue expanding the number of Greenfield clients that they have. I think that senior program is one of the ones that they started partly with funding that we gave them during COVID. We can do, like I mentioned, ADA improvements, child care centers. If you have a child care center that needs a new roof or anything like that, medical facilities. One of the big ones that we did, I don't remember the exact number, but the county used a portion of its funding pot to fund an organization called Grid Alternatives, which came into the community and worked a lot with the Chispa subdivision and got rooftop solar installed at almost no cost for those residents. Public services, I already mentioned Boys and Girls Clubs. Girls Inc. is also in the community doing leadership development for teenage girls. We funded the food bank. We have Interim Inc. who comes down and does homeless outreach and has hotel vouchers. We also fund legal services for seniors. Whole variety of public services. It really come up with an idea and we can talk. What we can't fund are things like buildings of general local government. We could not build you a new city hall. We could not build you a police station or a public works facility. HUD kind of looks at that as that's your responsibility. The caveat to that is, for whatever reason, we can do fire stations. And we could do ADA to this building, for example. We cannot build new housing, but with the EAH housing project over on the other side of Highway 101, the city had imposed some off-site street improvement requirements for it. We could fund those in support of the affordable housing, and the county did actually put a portion of its funding into it. So when you come forward with a project, that's your project. If the county wants to invest in supporting something in the city and we have the city support, we may come in and bring our money to the table as well. So you may get a little more. And we can't do something that's going to predominantly benefit people who are not low mod, okay? We can't build a private golf course that's going to have a $100,000 initiation fee. Even though we can do parks, we couldn't do that. Right now, the low mod population can make about $81,000 a year for a household of 4, okay? And that it adjusts based on how many people are in the household. So just think in terms of household of 4, about 81,000. Median income is about 105 for a household of 4. So I was shocked when I saw that was the median income in this county. So next steps, work with your city staff to identify what kinds of projects. And right now, we're just looking very high level. Is it economic development? Is it public facilities? Is it affordable housing? Is it a rehab program? What are your unmet needs, okay? And then Paul Mugen will work with us, we'll make sure that it's eligible, or we'll figure out how to get it as eligible as we can, and when in the next 3 years we can get you the money. What I don't want to do is approve a project that then we have to come back and go, oh, HUD said that's not allowed and you have to repass. Okay, so it may sound hard if I say no to a project, but I'm trying to protect everybody. And with that, I am open for questions.
Would you be able to do projects like, we've got the downtown that needs some rehab? Could interpret it as light, I guess. Is that something that you could help us out with on that?
So it is, and it's something that Paul and I talked about. We're going to have to figure out how to, again, if you're doing it to benefit a business, we have to go in and get the business owners buy-in and their employees, because we have to verify that they are income qualified. But yes, it is something that we could do. Something else to think about, we have a variety of funds, not enough, but we could do down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. We could do housing rehab. I'm trying to put together a big pile of funding, regular funding stream to finance that, because right now the programs are expensive and the benefit is very small for the initial investment and the ongoing investment. But we can figure out how to make it work. It's something I think that we could partner with all of the cities on.
Something like maybe streetscapes or anything?
We could do streetscapes, we could do curb gutter sidewalk, we could do street trees, we could do, I forget if neighborhood cleanups,
Lighting?
street lighting, yes, we did that for Gonzalez. We do curb cuts, the ADA ramps at the corners, yeah.
We will have to talk as a council.
ADA parks.
We also heard
So
parks.
you mentioned that you helped with the ADA equipment at Patriot Park in 2016?
Mhm.
So I'm guessing that's probably the last time that was addressed, right, Paul?
I'm not sure, because I don't know about the Rosas Robichati, because I think that's got some accessible play structures, but I'm not exactly sure when those went in. It's been a while, yes. Mhm.
Yeah, that would be an area.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I mean, I think you opened our eyes to some possibilities. I'm sure we've got more projects than you have money for.
Oh, yeah.
No. But we will definitely do some kind of a priority list and we can get back with you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, J2 Parking Pilot Program.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Bill Mixer, Chief of Police here in Greenfield. Super quick update on our pilot program for the parking of recreational vehicles and trailers. We've gotten very little feedback, positive or negative, from our residents. It's practically neutral. And it's really in the hands of City Council whether we want to modify the ordinance to make this permanent or status quo, leave as is. Pros and cons to both. As a previous trailer owner, I would love to park my trailer in the driveway, still have to pay for storage, it's off the street. On the other hand, if I was a neighbor and it was blocking my view and I can't see down the street, I can see how that would hamper, my visibility, maybe my quality of life, or my residential appreciation. So really, it's depending on City Council and what the prerogatives are, maybe any feedback that you've had from residents or constituents reaching out to you regarding parking, specifically of recreational vehicles or trailers. And that's all I really have. I mean, I'll take any questions, but really, the community's been very quiet about this topic. We actually had to go out and knock on doors and solicit information as much as we can, and pros and cons.
Chief, could you maybe explain just a little bit about what the trial run was? Because I think we have a couple new people who are probably not familiar with it.
Yes. So, city allowed the parking of trailers and recreational vehicles in the driveway. Previously was not allowed. So a pilot program, it frees up space on the street. It's a benefit to the owner of a trailer or the RV. Also keeps from having to move that vehicle around the street because, you know, there's a 72-hour period that vehicle has to be mobile. And really it came about from a resident who had some issues with a trailer being parked in front of the driveway and they didn't want it there. So it's actually pretty simple and pretty straightforward as far as why we implemented the program.
Any questions? Chief?
So when would we be, because it was a pilot, did we put an end date on it or like a date that we?
It was a
could circle back?
90-day pilot program.
And we started in October? So it's expired.
It's done.
Yeah, so it went through December 31st, I believe. And I think at this point, so the results are that people park their RVs and their trailers in their driveways. You guys did address a number of issues related to them hanging over into the sidewalk, but those were rectified.
Yes.
No other complaints necessarily, one way or the other. And so now, I think it's a matter of, okay, so what do we want to do with that information? Do we want to leave things the way, now, this also is in winter, and a large portion of the population may not be here. So we didn't have parking issues during the time that the pilot was going on. So I think it's probably, the next step would be to decide, well, do we think we want to change anything from the way it is now? The Unicode says no parking of trailers and RVs in driveways. Do you want to pursue that? It seemed like people did it, and it probably freed up parking spaces. But this would require a change to the Unicode. So is that something that you want to look into?
I'm wondering because it's seasonal, recreation and boats. I'm wondering if we would be willing to extend our pilot just to see what the movement looks like as people are traveling. Maybe their motorhomes or RVs aren't here right now. Maybe there's more movement during the spring and summer. Since there doesn't seem to be an urgent need to make a decision on it, perhaps we can do a seasonal, just look at it and see what's happening and if anyone complains. The only thing that I would make sure is that the sidewalk, that people can use their sidewalks. And I mean, I have no problem with people parking on property they're paying their taxes on, so maybe I'll go buy a boat. Just
Yeah, I would just say that if council wanted to do something like that, so that tonight's item is just an update. So if you wanted to take any sort of action to extend the pilot program, we would bring it back to the next council meeting for action. It could probably just be a consent item if there was a consensus.
I would think that would make a lot of sense. Go ahead and give it another 6-month extension, you think, or?
Yeah, I'd be interested in that too, because it's good that we're not hearing anything now, but we were hearing a lot before, so it seems like a good idea at this point in time, but I think it is smart to compare the different years, so.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. All right. J3, update on Community Engagement Department.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. Awesome. So thank you all for having me and for wanting an update from our department. This is the Community Engagement Department. I got a couple of pictures up there. I realized while I was making this, I'm not very good at putting together slideshows, so I thought I'd just copy paste a bunch of pictures. I wanted to share a little bit of how busy we've been and with the new council and also with the community who may not be aware of all of our programs. So a little bit about our team. We are a 3-person department. Myself as the Community Engagement Coordinator, Angela Mejia and Jose Chavez. Each of us oversee a major program in this department, and then I just help coordinate those. A little bit about us. Our department works hard to build trust, to educate, and to inform community members, and to establish a meaningful connection with those who participate in our programs and our workshops. Some of our key initiatives are that some of the things that we do in our department is our grant research, grant application, emergency shelter, homeless assistance, community workshops and events. We work hard to enhance our social media presence, but we're trying to catch up to and compete with police department social media. We're only about 10,000 followers away. My department works with the director to plan the Greenfield Harvest Festival. We also do youth, young adult, and senior resident civic engagement. With each of those, it's a lot. It's a lot that we do, but I'd like to break those down a little bit and let me know if you guys have any questions in between, because I'm so nervous I won't make eye contact with you guys. With our grant research and application, for our department, we have applied for and been awarded, since it started, little over $2.3 million that we've been able to use to support the community. And I'll share those grants. The grant breakdown is in a future slide. We've supported other departments with little over $1 million that were awarded. Some are still pending. And we also help the community with emergency shelter and supplies that we purchase for our homeless population. Just to give you an example of one of our programs, just in this fiscal year, and we're only halfway through it, we've provided 296 nights of emergency shelter to families and individuals in Greenfield through our emergency shelter funding that we applied for. Some were from Soledad and King City as well, but the majority were from Greenfield. We have a housing stability program. That program helps families who are unhoused in overcrowded conditions. What the term that's called couch surfing, which is moving around from home to home. This housing stability helps them pay their deposit and sometimes their first month's rent according to the circumstances, so that we can support them in that stable housing. So far, we've been able to support 5 families with this in this fiscal year, and we still have some funds to continue supporting families who are currently in those conditions. Each of these grants, of course, they have their own restrictions and also their qualification guidelines that we have to follow. So if any of you have questions about those, we can definitely go over those with you. I don't have all the details. Angela's the one who oversees these programs, so she'll have a little more information than I do. We do a lot of community workshops. And I've listed some of those. Those workshops are really to help inform the community. A lot of them are revolving around health and safety in some form. The most recent one was about signs of dementia. That was more geared towards our senior or aging population. And of course, their families who were interested in that topic. We did have several attendees. I wish I had the number, but these workshops that we have are very well attended. So we're happy that people are getting informed. And, you know, again, we're trying to enhance our social media presence by being regularly informative as much as we can, but I think social media itself can be a full-time job, so we try to keep up as much as we can. We do community events as well, Greenfield Harvest Festival, Music in the Park during the summer. We support with 9/11 as much as we can, and you know, we try to get a little bit of an event together for that right outside of City Hall. We also support with cooling stations, and as I mentioned, the cooling stations, the Greenfield Science Workshop also does this, so anytime the day is 90 degrees or hotter, we provide water in a place that's air-conditioned for community members. These supplies and care packages, and as well as food vouchers for homeless individuals. A little bit about our youth, or a little bit about our programs. The Youth Council currently has a total of 7 members. Their total funding, they are soon to receive a $10,000 subgrant from, it's actually from the Hartnell College Foundation that they received through Wallace Foundation. And then the $5,000 startup funds that the city provided when the Youth Council was established. A little bit about that Youth Council. It started last year and started off with 2 youth commissioners. It's now grown to 7 youth council members, and those members range from 9th to 12th grade youth from Greenfield High School. They've been doing a lot of work. They recently completed a project in partnership with youth councils from Soledad, from Gonzales, and the Chispa Teen Leadership Council. They worked with Hartnell College Foundation and an educator from CSUMB. They were doing an asset mapping initiative, which was focused on identifying existing resources and those resources that are needed to support youth employment and youth employment readiness and youth employment opportunities. So they'll be sharing that with the school district or the high school principal and with us in the near future. Thanks to their hard work on this project and the city's ongoing support for the youth civic engagement, Hartnell College Foundation will be providing that $10,000 subgrant to the Youth Council, which they'll be using for future youth action projects. So they've been doing a lot of work, and I just need to be better at sharing that on social media. They do have their own social media page, Greenfield Youth Council, in case you want to see what they're doing. We will keep you posted on this funding and what they do in the future with it. Our internship program, by December of 2025, we have a goal of serving 45 interns so far in the fiscal year 24-25. We've already had 26 interns go through our program, which is a job training program. 5 of those interns were part of the Greenfield Fire Department training program, which helps expose them to what they might be getting into if they're interested in that. The way this internship program started was the city initially invested $60,000 for a startup, smaller program. And then we applied for a grant through the California Volunteers through the state, and we were awarded over $500,000 to expand this. And of course, we have a partnership with the school district to provide 2 positions to expand the opportunities for these interns. So far, we've heard nothing but great feedback from every single one of the interns who have participated in the program. Our senior programs, which Angela oversees, we have monthly senior socials, nutrition classes, which went from 2 times a month to now 4 times a month, as Mayor White brought up. Art classes, again, we doubled the amount of classes there per month. Chair yoga, and in the near future, we'll add the walking groups, tech classes, and more options for our senior residents. So we do have a monthly calendar that we distribute. Part of those activities are provided by the Recreation Department, and the others are by the Community Engagement Department. There's a lot of quotes from our interns. I won't read them all, but if you guys want to take a couple seconds to read some of them, just to see the impact that it's having. And if you guys have any questions in the meantime.
That concludes your report?
Huh?
That concludes your report?
No.
Nope.
I was letting you guys read it.
Yeah, no, that's great.
So this is just a breakdown of the funding that our department has received. And I've split it into 2 sections, direct funds that go directly to supporting the community. Administrative funds or indirect funds are important to also share, because these, although there's a lot of work that goes into administering these grants, we do our best to apply for funding that will also cover the work that we do in administering those grants. And it also helps support the city by reimbursing the money that's spent through our work with these programs. If you guys want to read more about each of these programs that we have in the Community Engagement Department, the QR code on the right, or you can just go straight to our City of Greenfield website. And of course, all the videos that we've posted and updates will be on our Instagram page there. This was a reminder to share the internship video. So I do have a video that we just posted today. Let's see. Can you guys see that? There we go. Oops. Ed showed me how to do this, but I think I did it wrong. So it's a really nice video. I think what I did wrong was I didn't share with sound. So I don't, maybe I'll do that a little later, but if you guys want to watch that on your, afterwards, it's on Instagram and Facebook. It's a testimonial of some of our interns and how they feel about this program. Sorry, I couldn't figure out the sound. We've only been doing this for several years. And then to end with just a couple pictures of our programs, firefighter interns, and senior workshops, and some highlights from our senior socials. So And, you guys can see our calendar online as well, or through social media. We post it monthly. Any questions that you guys have? I'd be happy to answer.
No, but just a comment, you're doing a wonderful job.
Oh, thank you. I
I
appreciate it.
get the interns over there, so yes.
Thank
Send
you.
more.
Hopefully, if you want one for your own department,
Yeah.
we'll set it up. Thank you. All right,
What's the age group on your interns?
so the interns serve 18 through 24, and the goal really is to support them in their, a lot of our interns need experience to get jobs, and they're struggling to get jobs because of lack of experience. So it's just this revolving circle. So this internship program doesn't require experience. It just requires the need to learn and be trained. And so it's an amazing program. I hope you guys see their testimonials on our Instagram page. Yeah.
Now, they work in various departments around the city. They're not just-
Yes, which is, I should have mentioned this, thank you for reminding me. We have interns according to department need, but also according to, the space we have. We try to work hard to work with each department head. Our program would not be as dynamic as it is without the support of each department director who allows an intern into their program, because we know it takes a lot of work for them to plan for someone with no experience to come in and help their team. Greenfield Science Workshop, recreation, IT, community development, public works, and fire. Hopefully soon, if we can expand this program in the next round of funding, we'll be able to get an intern in the finance department and other departments, with the proper time to get them through the background and qualifications that they need to be able to support other departments. So, so I'm just glad that we have that support from our department heads who are so willing and ready to mentor these young adults.
Yeah, I've heard great things about different interns in different departments.
Yeah.
Sounds like a really thriving program at this point.
Yes.
And the senior social, you want to give us numbers on how many you serve on a monthly basis?
Oh, man, I wish Angela was here. I want to say it's between 80 to 100 seniors who attend our socials. So it's definitely growing. We went from 30 seniors at the beginning, 30 attendees, to now we're trying to figure out how to say, sorry, we're full, and still try to figure out a way to have enough food and supplies for everyone. So it's definitely growing.
We're spread from you doing a good thing.
Thank you.
If I could just jump in on that. I mean, I think I remember, how long ago was that we had the first senior social? Was it almost 2 years ago?
Yeah, sounds
Okay.
about right. We
And
just
we-
had our 2-year anniversary, so yes.
Okay, there you go. And we were wondering, well, should we plan for 20? I mean, not knowing anything about anything. And it was just funny because like 30 people showed up and Fabio was like, we don't have enough food. Or what are we going to do? We're going to be over budget. It's like, well, how much does it cost for each thing? Well, it's like $10. 10 times 10 is $100 for 10 seniors to have lunch. Yeah, do that all day. And she did, and it's grown fivefold. Because now, I mean, at the Christmas one, there was 100 and whatever, and
Yeah.
all of her partners, and it's the food bank, it's, who else? I mean, it's everybody that's involved.
Yeah, the
Or
food
just
bank, the Meals on Wheels.
Meals on
is the
Wheels,
main,
right. They
yes.
are jumping for joy because of the participation. And of course, the seniors, I mean, you were both there last Christmas, and it was like, they love it. And you can tell, they like to participate.
They like to
And
party.
it's
Yeah.
fun.
That's right.
They do.
It's fun, and the staff is really doing the engagement, not just putting on the event for community engagement, but they're out there dancing with our residents, and everybody jumps in to help serve everyone, so everybody's eating at the same time. Like, it's a wonderful event. If you haven't been there, you should come out to the next one. I went in November. I went last year too, for the Christmas one, but it's just like a good time too. And I've been out there to talk about MST with residents, and thank you for making time for me to be able to speak. They have a spotlight speaker at every event, and they share valuable information. But the themes are so fun too. I think it was it was October or November. That was like there was like red carpet theme. And
That's
one of the
right.
residents told me, like, there are themes and you need to dress up. And I'm really glad I didn't, because none of the other exhibitors were dressed up. But I was thinking about it because she really had me convinced that like we all have to do the theme.
Right.
And so, but it was so fun watching all the residents go and get decked out in their red carpet looks and take pictures at the little backdrop that they set up. And then I would add, I was even surprised, like they really go the extra mile because they take pictures of the residents. And then I was wondering what, one of the, I think it was an intern that was walking around with something, and she was like, she kept finding people and then putting something on their table. And they were pictures. They were printing pictures on the spot of the pictures that the people were taking with the backdrop, and then leaving them with a picture at the end. And it was just like an extra little touch, but it's those little details that are so thoughtful and just make it memorable. So yeah, I would encourage everybody to go out and be part of that, because it's a lot of fun. And I took my daughter with me. She insisted on going because she loves being around seniors. And she, in true young person lingo, she said, "This is like a real turn up." The music was great, and everybody's out there dancing.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
They're
fun.
having fun.
Yes, I appreciate that. They definitely do dress up, and the pictures are, them being able to leave with a picture in their hand for the memories means a lot to them. And if they don't print out in time, they call us at City Hall, "Do you guys have my picture?" And so a lot of them have shared that they mail them to their kids, or they scrapbook them, put it in their photo albums, and they say that it's just a wonderful memory for them. So it's just that special touch that I thought was an awesome idea to just help them add to their memories, and for their children as well, to see what they're doing, that their aging parents are having a blast. So yes, that those themes are quite serious, so we need to dress up. If any of you guys know of any agency who might be able to be a spotlight speaker for us, let us know. We're happy to coordinate with them as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
All right. J4 was full, so we will move to K1, City Council business. Adopt a resolution, City Council, City of Greenfield awarding the Fire Department apparatus bay door project to California Overhead Door in the amount of $91,150. Staff report, please.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and City Council. The Public Works Department released a request for proposal in September of 2024 for Fire Department apparatus bay door replacement project. The RFP was advertised on the city webpage, and multiple direct email invitations to bid were sent to various overhead door companies. Bids were due to the city clerk in October 2024. If some of you recall, the city did not receive any bids for this project. So on November 12th, City Council declared that 0 bids were received, and that the Fire Department apparatus bay door project may be procured economically and satisfactorily in the open market per the city's purchasing policy. Staff then reached out to multiple overhead door companies in the state in order to obtain 3 bids for the project. In the table below, you can actually see that there was 3 bids provided from Overhead Door, American Door and Gates, and California Overhead Door. And California Overhead Door was the apparent low bid at $91,150. So there's no budget impacts at this time, as City Council approved the transfer of appropriation of funds from fiscal year 23-24 to fiscal year 24-25 in September of 2024. And staff is recommending that City council adopt the proposed resolution awarding the contract for the fire department apparatus bay doors to California Overhead Door in the amount of $91,150.
Any public comments on K1? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to City Council for comments, questions, review.
No questions.
My only question is, why did these companies bid in the original process?
So sometimes it trends where it can be a strategitic move. When we did not have overhead door bid, we were surprised the first time. And so, because they had originally met with us about the project. Unfortunately, there wasn't any response. We don't know why. However, when we reached out to them for a bid after council approved to go direct, they raised their price significantly. And so it took us a little while to get some other companies throughout the state to respond and come take a look at the doors as well.
Okay. All right. I just want to comment too, I went by the fire station today and I noticed the parking lot fencing is up, and also there's a generator, it looks like it's hooked up back behind. So
Yep.
looks like that process.
That's the portable generator, yeah.
Yeah, portable.
Up and running.
Yeah. Ready to go. Just give feedback.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you very much.
I move to adopt.
I have a motion to adopt. Do I have a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded to adopt the resolution. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? All right. K2,
Thank you.
discuss and provide direction to staff regarding advisory body appointment. Staff report, please.
Good evening, Mayor White and City Council. So at the December 14th, 2024 City Council meeting, you'll recall that the City Council was considering the reappointment of a planning commissioner whose term had ended, but they had expressed interest in serving another term. And as part of that discussion, the City Council expressed interest in discussing just the entire process of how planning commissioners and other commissioners are appointed. And in particular, the City Council expressed interest in ensuring that the appointment process is fair and transparent, but also keeping in mind that when commissioners serve multiple terms, they're retaining important knowledge. And so this presentation is just an opportunity for you to discuss and provide direction to myself and other staff regarding how you would like to see advisory body members appointed in the future. So currently, the City Council, or the city, does have two active advisory bodies, and those are the Planning Commission and the Parks and Recreation Committee. This slide describes their duties, which I won't get into in detail, but those are in your staff report. And so we'll start with the Planning Commission. The municipal code, the city's municipal code, does have several sections that address how a planning commissioner is appointed. I'll just kind of read through those sections because these are the current sections and the current rules, but these are what, if you wanted to, you would be revising. So first off, the code says that there shall be a planning commission consisting of 5 members who shall be appointed by majority vote of the City Council. And those appointments shall be made for a term of 3 years, except that if an appointment is to fill a vacancy, then that appointment would just be for the remainder of whoever's vacancy they were filling. So it could be something less than 3 years. There's no limit on the number of terms that a planning commissioner can serve. However, at the completion of each of their 3-year terms, if a planning commissioner is interested in serving again, they prepare a written request to the City Council to be considered for an additional term. The code also says that people interested in becoming commissioners must submit an application for review by staff in the City Council, and that the City Council approves those applications and appoints planning commissioners by majority vote. And then finally, the code says that in terms of vacancies, if a member of the Planning Commission is unable or unwilling to complete their term, The planning director will publicize the vacancy in a local newspaper and on the city's website, and that the planning director is responsible for accepting applications, agendizing review of the applications by the city council, and then the city council will vote to appoint another person to serve for a 3-year term. Now, moving on to the, actually, let's talk about past practice. So, past practice has been that if a planning commissioner term ends and the planning commissioner does not submit a written request to serve another term, or if a planning commissioner resigns prior to the end of the term, the city will accept applications to fill the vacancy. However, if a planning commissioner did submit a written request to be considered for an additional term, then there would be no advertisement for, to accept applications and to consider other applicants. Now, moving on to the Parks and Recreation Committee, their bylaws actually, and I didn't mention, the Planning Commission bylaws they don't talk about appointment. The Parks and Recreation Committee bylaws, on the other hand, do explain how Parks and Recreation Committee members are appointed. And what it says is that when a vacancy occurs, either by the conclusion of a member's term, resignation, or otherwise, the city shall solicit applications from members interested in becoming a committee member. So you'll notice that here there isn't that same option for an incumbent to submit a letter. It's just each time there would be a solicitation of applications. And then city staff compiles and reviews those applications and provides them to the city council, and then if necessary, makes recommendations. And then the city council would make appointment by majority vote. So it's not clear with respect to the Planning Commission whether the city council is required to accept applications when a planning commissioner incumbent whose term is ending has submitted a written request to be reappointed. It does seem that by including that option for an incumbent to submit a written request, and that process being different from the way that other vacancies are filled, it seems that the code intends the process to be different, but again, it's not particularly clear. And there are 2 particular circumstances where the city is required to accept applications, and that's when, upon initial appointment, or when a commissioner is unable or unwilling to finish their term. So all that being said, the city council does establish these processes, and it's up to you how you would like these processes to work. And so you can change or clarify either or both appointment processes. I think my only recommendation would be that they be the same, just for ease of staff and you and everybody. But again, that's up to you. So there are some pros and cons to reappointing incumbents, commissioners and committee members. So on one hand, with the Planning Commission in particular, it really is a steep learning curve, and there is so much to know that it really actually is helpful to have someone who is in the role for a while or a few terms, because as they serve, they will learn more and more. And then they can make more educated, knowledgeable decisions. On the other hand, it's nice to be able to have new people and offer that opportunity to other community members. So that's the con of continuing to reappoint the same people. So your options are to amend the code to just clarify how commissioners and committee members are appointed. You could also amend the bylaws of each of the commissions or committees to make clear how the appointments occur. You don't have to make any changes. This is all optional. Or there could be other options or ideas that you have that I haven't presented here. So with that, I can answer any questions.
I think I'll go out to public comments at this point. Do we have any public comments on K2? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council for comments, review, and action. Oh, do you? Go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. I just wanted to recommend, I did look at the bylaws for the Planning Commission, and I would recommend, I know that there's a 1 mile unincorporated area within the city of Greenfield. I think that maybe we should extend it and maybe have residents from like Arroyo Seco, be able to apply for planning commission. So, thank you.
All right. Anyone else? All right, I'll bring it back to council for comments, review, and action.
Sorry.
I was debating.
Go ahead.
Just to be clear, so you mentioned that would the council be amending the planning commission bylaws, or is that something that the planning commission would do?
So I did forget to mention that, so the council has the authority to amend the bylaws.
Okay.
However, the planning commission at their last meeting did request a review of the bylaws for themselves, and not just the appointment process, but really all of them. And so they are going to review their own bylaws and then make recommended changes, and then those would come to you for approval, though.
Yeah, because there's a part in our bylaws that I don't think is consistent with the municipal code, wherein our bylaws state that commissioners are appointed by the mayor and approved by the council. And so that's something that I think everything should be consistent. So, thanks.
Anyone else? All right, now I'll bring it back to council.
So is the, to follow up on what Commissioner Garcia just stated, so would that be a change that council would be able to approve as well when we review the bylaws?
Yeah, I think with the, depending on what happens tonight, I think the plan would be, so next week is the planning commission meeting, and they'll review their bylaws, and they'll provide, direction as to changes that they'd like to see, and we can make those edits, and then bring those back to them to look at, and then you ultimately would approve whatever changes. But anything that you recommend tonight, we would also incorporate into just one kind of holistic change to the bylaws. Does that answer your question?
My recommendation is probably just to leave it the way it is, and if the planning commission wants to bring something to us, then we could look at it then. But as far as this procedure, I think it's best just to leave it the way it is. I think the fact that the people there have knowledge, they gain a lot of knowledge, and I think that's very valuable, especially dealing with some of the issues that come before planning commission. So my recommendation is to leave it alone. I think it was set up that way on purpose.
I disagree. I brought this to council because the last time that there was an opening with Commissioner Garcia's term ending, the way that I read this, and like you said, it's kind of open to interpretation. If they submit, the incumbent submits a request to be considered to continue, then the implication is that they're not just endlessly reappointed, that other people have an opportunity to apply. And yes, if they're the best qualified person, then they absolutely should be appointed. But that ultimately is the responsibility of the council, and the council changes every couple of years. And the people that the city votes in to make those decisions about who should be on the planning commission should fall on the council ultimately. And so I think even just the language used in it alone implies that there's a process. Also, I found discrepancies as well. If there's a discrepancy between the government code and the city code, the government code would be
That's right. Yeah, and if you did find discrepancies between the government code, I didn't review the government code as compared to the city's ordinance.
Okay.
So I've only looked at the bylaws and the ordinance. So if you saw
So let me
discrepancies.
share that. So when it says vacancies, if a member of the planning commission is unable or unwilling to complete his or her term, that it should be publicized, and then the city council by majority appoints another person to serve for 3 years, commencing with the date of the appointment. But we recently didn't do that with Commissioner Chavez. And in the top where it's the city code, there it says, for 3 years, except when they're appointed to finish somebody else's term. But those two things conflict.
Yes.
It's,
Look at that, and then I would recommend amending the ordinance to match the government code, because that's what's going to prevail. I mean,
so knowing though that Commissioner Chavez did raise concerns about how that appointment took place and it doesn't align with the government code, how would we rectify that
I guess
situation?
I don't know who Commissioner Chavez is.
Was that his name, or am I using the wrong name? I could be, and if
There,
I'm
Mr. Chavez is a Parks and Recreation Committee?
No, we appointed
Oh, Vasquez.
Vasquez, I'm sorry.
Oh, so that's not the planning commission is, the
No,
part,
he was on planning commission.
he-
Yes, he was.
Position now was equal a position to.
Right, but what I pointed out is that government code says that he still serves 3 years from the date of his appointment.
yeah, okay. I mean, I can look at that, yeah. I don't remember those circumstances, but I know that the two codes they should be the
And
same.
the government code would supersede our
Yeah,
state code.
yeah.
So I would request that because that is a clear discrepancy and the government code is what should rule, that we need to look at that, we need to rectify that situation.
Okay. But this item before us that had to do with the appointments, correct?
Well, this is, I mean, that is like something now that would be separate because of how that appointment went, but if we're talking about how appointments go, and before us, we have government code and municipal code, and they conflict, I think I am on topic.
Yeah.
I don't mean that, I'm not saying you're not on topic, I would have no problem for you investigating and getting correct. But tonight, I thought we were also talking about giving direction on what to do as far as the, I think, incumbent
Yes.
planning commissioner being appointed back on by just.
Yeah, so my comment specific to that is what I started with. So I think the language alone implies that it's an open process. The applications are that it's not a lifetime appointment, or there wouldn't be a term limit, and that there be an application process for the public. And then it would align with the parks appointments as well.
And I didn't provide a recommendation, because what you decide to do is really up to you. But I would recommend that the language be clear. So the ordinance is ambiguous, and so whatever process you want to implement or maintain is up to you, but I would recommend the language be cleaned up to be more clear. But again, that's a recommendation. You can take it or leave it.
That's what I personally would like to request, if others are in agreement, for us to revise the language so that it is clear, because that's kind of what I said in the last meeting when this came up about the appointment, that I don't think that we should leave it ambiguous for anything to be exploited. I think it's important that opportunities are given to everybody in our community, and that each new council that comes in is able to represent what their constituents want in those appointments.
Yeah, but I don't think that still answers the question here as far as whether we change the process or not. I mean, we want to make it clear, that's absolutely
Yeah,
the
so
case.
I
but
guess-
We haven't really decided on whether to go ahead and just have the person submit an application, or whether we go out to the public as a whole. This hasn't been decided.
But we haven't
Can't
heard from
take-
everybody.
Yeah.
We can't take action, though. We can't make a decision on this tonight, can we?
No, you'll provide direction by consensus, so at least 3 of you will direct what you'd like to see, and then we'll bring back something for you to approve.
I appreciate that. I'm not the only one that was confused with the language and had to read it several times, put it away, come back, because I felt, do they start 3 years? Is it replacing? And so I'm glad we're looking at that. As far as just the point that we're trying to say, is it enough to just submit a letter, or should we open it up to everyone else? I don't think there's any fear if the person who is in place writes the letter and is doing a great job. They shouldn't fear then competition or challengers, and nor should we also decide, I don't want to be God up here and say only you. I'm in favor of helping the community feel like we are including everyone in these decisions, and it's not just, we decided who it is. Again, I'm not afraid if you're great at your job and you apply again, it's no different than us, right? If I feel like I want to continue with council, I have to do the whole process all over again. So does Parks and Recreation, right? They have to do the whole process all over again. So I think it would be fair if that's just the way we do it in Greenfield. We just let everyone have an opportunity to apply, either reapply or bring in new ideas, or, so that's my thing. Did I make myself clear?
Yeah, so it sounds like you're in favor of opening it up for applications every time that a term ends.
Yes.
Okay.
But
get a majority of the vote, does the vote gets out here to the public, or is it in closed session and then it brings up?
It occurs in open session, and it's up to the council to just choose and appoint people. Yeah.
Last time that I applied for the planning commission, it wasn't done out here. It was more of like, this other person got it. So even, I think that even though that we were saying submit your application, sometimes we're just gonna, I don't think it's fair either way. I applied, I thought that I was more competent than the other person that the council selected. So at this point, if we have people that are already doing it, I'm not gonna reopen it. I'm not gonna change anything.
So you're in favor of,
Keeping it the way it is.
okay. Are you in favor of clarifying the language?
Clarifying the language. Yes.
Okay. So we have, it seems, a 2-2 split.
So I would ask what that clarification would look like then to Councilmember Jones. Like what, if you are in support of basically, in essence, what would be a lifetime appointment?
I'm not
Like the
saying,
Supreme Court or something?
no, I'm not saying a lifetime appointment.
As long as that
If
person wants to keep doing it, it doesn't matter like what the residents' opinions are about the job that they're doing?
Well, they could come and talk and say if
But
they're doing
if we're saying
something.
that we're not opening up applications, there isn't an option for the residents to fill that with anybody else.
I think though, isn't it though, if the person applies, the council still can say no if
Yeah.
that person applies. That's the way it's been set up before. If the person puts their letter in, we take the vote as that person does.
So that would require the
That would
incumbent
require
to write the letter, go through the
the council,
denied.
come to the council, and then be denied. Then you would open it up to the public. That's the way it's been in the past.
Yeah, but past practice doesn't always mean best practice, and the code itself implies that it's for consideration, not for reappointment. If there was no other applications to consider, it wouldn't be for consideration, it would just say for reappointment. They submit their interest for reappointment. It says they submit their letter for consideration to be reapplied.
But you still have to have the approval of the council.
No, I understand that, but I'm just talking about the process. If we're circumventing the process from the beginning by limiting who we're considering from the very beginning,
It's kind of a special circumstance though, because you've got people here who have years of experience on planning commissions, who have gained knowledge and how the system works and how subdivisions work and how variances work and different things that are very important. And, it's a very, it's a steep learning curve. There's a lot of information. There's a lot of review that has to be done. I really think there's no really any reason to change it other than to clarify the language.
yeah, I'm not in disagreement that obviously experience is valuable, but I would say that that doesn't mean that what people that have experienced, the decisions that those people make are reflective of what the community wants. And just because somebody is in a seat for a long time does not mean that they are doing the will of the people that they represent. And if we don't have authority to open up applications, then we're just perpetuating that.
You're not though, because it still comes before council. That person puts in their letter. The councils can still say no to their application.
But, right,
It just
exactly.
takes another step.
Right. But
However,
it's still removing the ability to apply from all of our residents, and I don't think that's why they put any of us up here.
That's not the question that we're
Well, it
talking
is,
about.
is this opportunity going to be open to all of our community? That is the question that we're
It could be
talking
if the
about.
council decided not to appoint the person who applied, who was already on there. That person was not approved, then it would go out to the public and we would take applications on it. But we're giving the person with the experience and knowledge, unless there's some reason not to appoint them, we're giving them an opportunity to just continue in the position and to apply their knowledge that they've gained over the years.
can I ask, do we have people knocking down our doors to
No.
volunteer and be part of this? So then there should be no fear of having someone to reapply, and if their knowledge is good enough, and I don't think they're going to be challenged. I just think it may come up that there's somebody out there that wants to apply, On the one hand, if we just take the letter, I see where the process just moves, it flows, okay, go on, and we move on. But I also see it stalls if the council says no, and then there's nobody to fill that position, or I don't think we should be afraid of if it stalls. I like flow, but it stalls. But I still go back to what I heard when I was knocking on doors, that transparency, that only a few people are running the city. It's the same names, the same faces. And even though they may or may not be voting, I think we should say, we're giving you an opportunity. And again, I don't think there's going to be a challenger. I mean, really? Are that many people want to volunteer that much? No. So, and I hope that the people who are currently in the positions are not offended that we're talking about this. We're just saying, it's not just for today, and that's not just for this year. We're talking about, always. What kind of council do we want? What kind of city do we want? Do we want people out there hearing, hey, Greenfield does give us opportunities, I'll give it a shot. And
I brought this up at the last time that this was discussed, that, any of our current commissioners wouldn't be commissioners if there wasn't some opportunity to ever apply. And if, that's not open, and they were waiting and say, this is something I'm interested in, say I studied it, or I'm just very well versed, or I came from another city where I was on planning commission there for 2 decades, or whatever it is. The point is, if there's somebody else that is also waiting for an opportunity, and if one of our sitting planning commissioners was that person that was waiting for an opportunity to get in because they wanted to serve in that way, it's an injustice to not ever have an opportunity for people to step up and say, hey, I want to serve, this is the skills that I bring, and it should always be that way.
Yes, I'll allow it. Go ahead. People here.
Thank you, Mayor. So I just wanted to mention, Councilmember Garcia and Jones, when I was appointed the first time for Planning Commission, I finished a term, someone resigned, and so I finished his term. I had to submit a letter, and it was open to everybody. It was put out there for people to apply for this position. I was the only one that did it. And it came before City Council, and I was voted. Not everyone voted yes. So you guys have the opportunity to say yes or no at the end of the day. I wish that maybe we had 7 commissioners and not just 5, and maybe opening it up for more city residents to apply for Planning Commission. It doesn't have to be 5. So I just wanted to get that out there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for reopening public comment. I just want to reassure you, I keep hearing the term lifetime. I personally don't have a desire to serve on the Planning Commission for the rest of my life, so I don't think that any of us do. I don't think that's a thing at all.
That's really good, because it wasn't intended that way. And that's kind of the point I think I want to make, again, is that, I commend Commissioner Garcia that the process was fair and equitable when she went up and was selected in a way that was open to everybody. That's great, and that's what I'm advocating for should continue. Thank you for that.
Council, we'll proceed from here.
So to make a change would require consensus, which the only consensus I've heard is that you do want to update the ordinance language to make it more clear, but that would be clear as to the current practice, because there's no consensus to change the current practice. So unless there's more conversation or some different, if I didn't understand that correctly, then let me know.
So what my question is, what is the clear language then? Are we going to remove that it's for 3 years? And it's just like upon the person not wanting to do it anymore, then that's when a vacancy is available?
So the clarity would be two things. One is to look at the government code and make that consistent. So that's different than clarity. It's just making the government code and the ordinance consistent based on the code that you brought up. So we'll look at that. And then separately, codifying the current practice by clarifying the language in the code. Because the current practice doesn't not comply with the code. It's just not clear whether the current practice is exactly what was intended or if something different was intended because it's unclear. So the activity would be to clarify the ordinance to codify current practice. The other question I have, although you're welcome to continue discussing the Planning Commission, is that the Parks and Recreation Committee, that is just in their bylaws, is different from the Planning Commission. And they don't have to be the same, but it's something, if you want to consider making them the same, that's something else that you can discuss, but are not required to.
I like the idea of consistency. Just the way it's done. Everyone has an understanding. That's my thing.
And so that would mean making the Parks and Rec Committee the same as the Planning Commission. So I see 2 in favor of that and 3 in favor. Are you in favor of that, Councilmember Jones? I see you nodding, but I don't want to assume. Okay.
No.
No.
You looked at me, yeah, no. Consistency, yes, but not consistent to not allow the public to apply.
Yes, a consistency to
Open it.
opening it. Do we wait for our other council member to come back? Do we table this?
You could decide, that could be something you decided to do by consensus as well. Because the next step would be for us to revise the bylaws, and the revision would be, revise the ordinance and the bylaws, but the bylaw revisions would also include the recommended revisions that will come from the Planning Commission next week. And so bringing both of those back to the City Council for approval. And at that meeting, there may be an additional council member, so this could all change. So if you wanted to discuss it again before making any changes, that's another option.
I think bringing it back with proposed changes that you're looking into makes sense. And then we'll decide which way to go on that particular issue.
And the ordinance amendments, I don't know if they can come back in 2 weeks because of the public noticing. I never know how long it takes at the paper. So, no. Okay, there's not enough time for that to come back at the next meeting. It would have to be 2 meetings from now.
So Ken, what, your study of those 2 conflicting ordinances, the ordinance and the government code, can that be discussed in the prior appointments?
Yeah, I can report back at the next meeting, like have another similar discussion to this one, you mean, or?
Well, because I think that we need to recognize if we did something that wasn't in line with government code, with the way that we handled the last vacancy.
Yeah, we'd have to figure out, I mean, I have like a vague recollection of that, but.
Would that also hold true for every other time we did it, not just the last time?
Yeah, I guess so if it's happened more than once. But I don't know how you rectify that at this point.
Are we talking about Commissioner Mendoza? Is that?
It was Vasquez. I was remembering it incorrectly. I was saying Chavez, but it was Vasquez. And, I think it is important for us to know if we're making these appointments to these positions incorrectly. And if it's been it's just something that's been done regularly and correctly, doesn't mean that we should continue that. We need to, that's what the council's for. We're here to hold the city officials responsible for doing things correctly. So, I'm not really registering the level of resistance that I'm feeling about that, because that's what we're here for. We're supposed to be voicing when something is not being done according to government code. So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, no, we can certainly bring, I guess I'm not exactly sure what you want back, and I think it's just an analysis of whether the city's ordinance is in conflict with the government code, and then looking at that one particular appointment to see how that complied with.
I don't know if we want to look at that appointment, I would like to see if the two conflict and bring it back to meet the government code so that we're in line the way it should be from here on out.
So technically, it would be Commissioner Mendoza because
That was appointed after Vasquez.
after Vasquez. So Commissioner Vasquez was asked to reapply with everyone else. And then they appointed, instead of appointing Commissioner Vasquez, they appointed Commissioner Mendoza.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
So, but that's against government code, because government code says that they serve 3 years from the date of appointment.
Right.
And he didn't, because we followed city code that says finishing that commissioner's term.
Well, and I'll make sure that government code applies, because there's always exceptions, and it's not always as straightforward as just reading the words. It depends. So that, I think, is the first step. But I hear from the mayor that he wants to see a comparison of the codes,
Make sure we're.
but not look at that particular appointment, but Mayor Pro Tem would like to look at that particular appointment as well. So,
A question.
yes.
So I just want to make sure that I understand. So for Vasquez, we told them that he needed to apply and we posted it, even though that he wanted it again? Is that what you were saying?
He was filling out the term of somebody else.
Oh,
It was a
okay.
few months.
But we
But
didn't
he
give
was
him,
still the incumbent and was treated differently than the current incumbents.
Yeah, I think I don't recall exactly what occurred. Okay.
We'll take a look at it and analyze it and let us know.
Yeah, I don't have consensus as to what to do yet. I've heard from 2 council members, so.
me?
You, either. Or neither, you don't actually have to speak.
So is there, Jennifer, is there another process then? Is that what we're getting to? Like if you're serving somebody else's term?
What Mayor Pro Tem is saying is that the government code says that if someone's appointed to the Planning Commission, they serve three years.
Okay, yeah.
They serve 3 years. However, the ordinance says that if you are appointed to fill a vacancy, you only serve the rest of the person who resigned or left's term, so something less than 3 years. And so that's the discrepancy. Yeah, and so we want to look at that. I'm going to look at that whether you guys tell me to or not. Because,
Look at that, please.
yeah, but then whether the last appointment was potentially invalid or didn't follow the government code.
Yeah, so I do understand that, but the portion that he needed to reapply, why was it open? Is it like a different?
No, it's the same position. They're planning commissioners, but it was treated differently.
Oh,
Yeah.
I might have a problem with that now. I might have
Thank
to-
you.
I might have to think about that now. Because
Yeah.
I mean, it does, I kind of don't see it there fair in that aspect. If we are doing it for one, then it kind of seems like that. What was it different? What was the difference? Nobody?
It was opened up from the beginning.
But if he wanted it and we said no, then is that what it is? That we just said no to him from the
We were
beginning?
Somebody else was
we were-
appointed.
We were following what was in our
Oh,
ordinance.
That's why, these issues are why I brought this topic and insisted that we discuss this, because it's not consistent and it's not fair.
I was just thinking that this was past practice, and I don't want to change the past practice. But if we're not consistent, then there's a problem. And I understand we want to go ahead and change the language, but I just want to know, like, what just happened? Because when I applied, it was open to everybody. It was to fill somebody else's term. But nevertheless, do I believe that the person who got it was the most qualified? Probably not, but that's my personal opinion. So that's my problem, is that if we are opening it up, unfortunately, sometimes we don't choose the most qualified person to do the job. That's the problem I have. But I also have a problem if we didn't do it last time like that, then one or two, we have to go fix it, obviously, But then we need to decide, like what we're deciding today, whether we're gonna do it that way or we're not gonna do it that way. I have a problem with, like I said, with the problem I have is that we didn't follow it, the same that we're seeing now, today.
So maybe and tell me what you think of this. I mean, maybe what we need to do is really figure out what past practice is. So meaning look back at however many years or appointments or a certain number, looking back and see how they were handled, to see that to confirm that there is a past practice, because this was just, I don't know, I don't want to say an assumption that this was past practice or just the recollection or.
And I'm just gonna say that I thought that it was past practice because my supervisor in my other job actually hold the planning commission like for 20 years. So I was thinking, well, that's past practice. It seems like it has worked. But now we're saying we didn't do it for this other person. Yeah, we didn't even give them an opportunity. I truly have a problem with that. I need to think and get more information before I have my 100% decision now.
So what are we doing?
Telling me what to work.
Oh, no, I don't tell you.
That we do have a problem with the way these appointments are inconsistent.
Yes.
So I guess what's the direction? I mean,
Look at what we've done in the past, make sure and match it up with the government code and see what we do where we're at.
is that,
Again, it doesn't really matter, I know it matters what we've done in the past, and you're right. Look and see, all we're gonna do is we found out we've done it right or we've done it wrong. I think for today, I would love to be able to say, from here on forward, no matter what we've done in the past, what is it that we want?
We're consistent.
Yes, and I'm gonna fight for consistency, that let there be an application every time, not just a letter. And again, if the person there is qualified to hold it again, then so be it. But I also hear what Marcy is saying, Councilman Jones is saying, that sometimes there's favoritism, because we've been in the business where it doesn't matter how many people apply, we've already decided who it's going to be. And then that's not fair either to the applicants. But I think we can be smart enough to be subjective or objective and look at all the applications and see something. I think that's important. So I just want us to be making a decision from here on, what we want. Whether we look in the back, in the past, and look at the sins of our fathers, you can do that. It's not going to change today. So as of today, what do we want forward?
To follow government code is what I would say.
but that doesn't tell the whole story. It doesn't paint the whole picture of how an appointment occurs. It just says how long the term will be, so.
Right, but yeah, that's what we didn't do correctly though, is somebody's term.
Right.
So whoever's in consensus with this, I know Councilmember Garcia's voiced this now, would be also that the consistent practice moving forward is that an open application process is offered to our community every time, and that it's aligned with the parks. And we've all seen that, I know Commissioner Zavala mentioned like we could have 7, but the commissioners know better than anybody, and as she stated, she was the only applicant. We barely have 5. I don't think that we need to open it to 7, but usually there aren't many applicants. So I don't think that it's like we're gonna have an overwhelming number of applicants. It's just that it's a fair process.
I would stick to mine if based on the other people that I know that have been in the planning commission, based on past practice that I know, I would stay with it, my original, that I do not want to change it.
Okay.
But just to, obviously, the language clean it up.
Okay.
But you said that you thought the past practice was that it is always opened up?
No, that it's not. It's giving the opportunity, whoever has been doing it, for us to, if all have agreed, and if not, we would have to take the other second step. And what Bob was saying.
So you're saying, leave it as is, just write the letter,
Yeah.
and we decide keep it or not,
Yeah.
and if not, then we go to the next step of opening it for.
Everybody has a win-win net. It's not like because I mean, if we don't agree, we don't agree.
Mayor?
I agree.
Okay. So we're kind of back where we started. So we'll just,
But we need to fix the one that.
right, of course, yeah. So I think we're back to clarify the government code and whether or not it conflicts with the city ordinance. And then clean up the ordinance language to memorialize the process where an incumbent submits a letter. If the council either approves or denies it. If they deny it, it's opened up. And then all other circumstances where there's no incumbent, there's always an application process. Because that's,
I think that sums it up, yeah.
okay. Okay,
You good?
I'm good.
All right, very good, thank you. All right, brief reports on conferences, seminars, and meetings attended by mayor and city council. League of California Cities.
We just covered that in earlier, I think. It was great. We learned a lot about social media and financial responsibilities as well. A whole little list here. Ethics was pretty good. It was long, but it was very good. You want to add anything?
Sure. I was it was just wonderful to be in a room filled with people who wanted to help their cities and have conversations, and also to know that Greenville, we're doing pretty good after listening to a roundtable of people telling us what's going on in their cities, big and small, and they go, Greenfield, and we're like, we're good. Aside from fire hydrants and potholes, it seems like that's in common, but no, I said, Greenfield, we're good. Seriously, we just said, no, we're good. There was no need to say anything bad about Greenfield or what's not working. The only thing that I would say that the title, I think, of the workshop was Effective Council. The best effective council for a city is one that gets along, that does not bring up dirty laundry during the council meetings, to always remember our public is watching us and we're being recorded, and that always address each other with respect, professionalism, and if there's any conversations that need to be held privately, then we do that. But remember, we want Greenfield to look good in comparison to anybody else. I want us to be the best.
And we could agree to disagree, because, professionally is good.
Yeah.
A lot of social networking too. Yeah, everybody wants to help you, which is awesome.
Terrific, thank you. Transportation Agency for Monterey County. That's Rachel, correct?
Yeah.
All right. Association of Monterey Bay Area Governments, that's me. We haven't met for a couple months. We're meeting February the 12th, so that's coming up. Salinas Valley Solid Waste Authority.
That was me, but I was in the conference.
Okay.
So I will go next time.
Monterey Salinas Transit.
We accepted I want to pull it up so I say it right, $22.17 million grant for the Federal Transit Administration to fund the construction of the Surf Busway and the Bus Rapid Transit Project. I mentioned a few months ago, all of us board members, or most of us, spent like 9 hours waiting to speak at the Coastal Commission meeting about our support of the Surf project and wanting to push that forward. It passed and we were awarded this grant, so that's great news. And then there were service recognitions for 2 members of the board that have been on for 10 years, and that was Mayor Mike Labar from King City and Councilmember David Pacheco from Seaside. They've both been on for 10 years. And we conducted our annual strategic planning workshop to review the next, and we will receive presentations from the staff about the next two-year action plan. And we discussed one of the big items that would affect all riders would be the discussion of contactless fare payment transactions. So there's talk about having cards like a tap to pay, but a specific card that is for MST. But they're also talking to all different transit agencies. So it would be one card that's good for MST, BART, like, you know, all different types of public transportation, as well as I believe some like restaurants, and basically linking it and making it a card that's really resourceful for many uses and not just transit. But we discussed the pros and cons of just trying to get rid of cash altogether and the dangers of possibly doing that, and it would limit ridership for some people. So so that was just a discussion though that was of high public interest. And that's all.
All right, thank you. South Salinas Valley Broadband Authority.
I don't think we didn't meet.
Okay. Monterey County Mayors Association, we met on January 3rd. Did a lot of appointments for various positions. I'm now the Monterey County Mayors Association Chair for this, for 2025. So I'm in charge of the meetings for the 12 cities, and so we meet once a month on various items.
So the South Salinas Valley, that one is mine, but they didn't have enough one this month, so it's gonna be next. Yeah.
Okay. Salinas Valley Mayors and Managers Group, we haven't met for a few months, right?
No, and we're not meeting in January, we'll meet again in February, so it'll be like the third Monday, I believe.
Okay. All right. Planning Commission? Meeting? Okay. City Attorney Report.
So speaking of planning, our firm recently published a housing law handbook, which is intended for elected and appointed officials, and then also city staff who aren't planners, who aren't planning experts. So it's a free resource that I'm going to send you all a link to. But also we'll be doing we, as in me and one of my colleagues, will be doing a webinar February 13th that will focus on certain elements of housing law, and it really focuses on what cities can and can't do when it comes to approving or disapproving housing developments. And so I'll send you all that information too, but I just wanted to give you a verbal heads up as well.
Great.
All
Thank
free.
you. Thank you. City Manager Report.
Yeah, I've just got a couple of items. One is just to reiterate, City Council Team Building Workshop, March 19th, here, 5 to 9. We will be doing the same training for the staff in the afternoon, so hopefully we'll all be one big team. Hopefully we won't be different teams. The other one is ADA Improvements and Inclusive Play Structure Update. We've been working with a master's student at Cal regarding our park designs and everything going on with all the parks. We've increased her workload to identifying ADA compliance. So hopefully we'll know which parks are and which ones aren't. Hopefully we don't have any that aren't ADA compliant. As far as park inclusivity, Jesus has reached out to our play structure vendor, the people that we buy our play structures from. They've already done an analysis of what we've got that's inclusive versus not inclusive, let's say, and I've got prices. So we're going to combine all that information into when we do come back to council for this item, which will probably be the second meeting in February. So, but a lot of the work looks like it's already been done. Maybe the prices need to be updated, but we've got a lot of the inventory already completed.
All right. Thank you very much. At this point, I'd like to close the meeting in honor of Leonard Dart. Leonard passed away January 19th. Leonard was mayor twice. He was mayor from 1974 to 1982, and then elected again in 1994 through 1998. He was also very involved with his church, Little League, chairman of the Broccoli Festival, just a very community-minded guy. Just want to say, Leonard, thank you for all your service to our community, and rest in peace. Meeting's adjourned.